Mahomes looks to throw it. Pump faking, right side. He wants it. A comeback. It is caught by Kelsey. Touchdown, Kansas City. The game is over. The Kansas City Chiefs are champions. How about those Chiefs?
Welcome to the next episode of the Kingdom Corner here with Andrew and Dale. We are coming off a win against the Denver Broncos. We're a couple days late with this one, so apologies for that, but thanks for joining us either way. And so, Dale, we now have 16 straight wins against the Broncos. So you can't discount a division win, right?
No, a win's a win. Again, we've said from the get-go here last couple of weeks, it feels like that. And in February, we don't go back and look at how bad did they beat the Broncos or anything like that. It's going to be a win's a win, and so we're going to move on. And if we get the 1 seed, they're not going to be like, "Well, you barely beat the Broncos or you barely beat the Jets." It's going to be you won the game. So 1 seed, here we come.
Yeah, that's right. And before we forget to, we want to also remind you: make sure you're sharing this, make sure you're liking it, subscribe to it on whichever platform you're listening to this on. Man, it just helps us out to really get this out to more people. And we literally cannot do it without you. So please help us out by doing that. Share it with your friends and like it, comment, all those things to help us beat the algorithm here. So, but even though the Chiefs won this game, so they won Thursday night in Arrowhead Stadium, 8-19. So first off, I'm pointing this out. Vegas knows what they're talking about. Chiefs won by 11, and it's a 10.5 point spread. So Vegas doesn't lose too much, and so they know a little bit of what they're talking about. They had the game much closer than you or I even did as far as our score predictions go. So neither one of us got that close on our score predictions. I had 35-10. You had 31-16. So
there you go.
One of these days we're going to get closer on those.
One of these days. But I told you one of these games is going to be a blowout. So I guess the next game will be a blowout against the Broncos 2 weeks from now.
The other side is I'm not sure the Chiefs are going to overlook him next time either. I think they might have overlooked him a little bit this time. And so maybe, we'll see. That defense didn't overlook them. No, not at all. So, let's jump into that defense. I mean, the defense and the special teams is the story of the game.
Yes.
Yeah,
hands down.
Harrison Butker, to end the first half, kicked a 60-yard field goal. That guy has been money, hasn't missed a field goal all year yet.
Pay him. So you were at the game. So how windy was it? Was it very windy? Or I know that wind's a little different because you're on the bowl with the elite, and so
being the elite class. The elite class sits on that suite level right there in the middle.
I guess as you and T Swift. I mean,
we're on different levels. We're not on the same level. So she gets to sit in the yellow seats behind a glass and I'm sure what is heated and cooled room. So not so much where I'm sitting.
But how much wind was there that night?
So it's a typical game. Even if it's somewhat windy, you don't feel it too much there in the bowl just because you're down lower and because of the people. But you could actually feel the wind blowing. I wouldn't say it was like a strong gust or where we were sitting at, but you can definitely feel the wind blowing, which is not normal, even if it is somewhat windy. So there's definitely some wind going on there. And so which just makes Harrison Butker kicking all those field goals and making them that much more impressive.
Even more impressive because, 62 yards from at the end of the half, I thought they were crazy. But I was like, well, if it goes in, it goes in. And it did. And so, I mean, he was money all game, all year so far.
Yeah. Yep. No doubt. So let's jump into the defense a little bit more. So here's some stats about just a little bit of the offense and the defense too, to kind of give us a little bit of perspective of what's going on. Because even though it's a win, I think a lot of people are on the same page. We are or at least I am. I guess I won't speak for you, but I feel like it's kind of an ugly win, even though they won it, right? Left me with a lot of frustration, a lot of questions, and a lot of just like, who are we really, and where are we going from here?
Right.
Yeah, and so here are just a few stats for the Chiefs, some offensive and defensive stats. So this year through 6 games, well, let me start with last year, I guess. Last year, the Chiefs had 2,294 yards of offense through 6 games last year.
Okay.
This year, the Chiefs have 2,294 yards of offense, same amount of yards. However, KC has only scored 147 points, which is the fewest amount of games in the first 6 games in the Mahomes era.
Wow.
So they scored 179 points through 6 games last year.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're talking about 30, 40 point difference right there.
Right.
The previous low was in 2019 of 172 points. So another, Mahomes era low right there. But here's the difference. The difference is Casey's defense right now.
Yep.
So the defense has allowed 88 points, which is their best by 39 points.
Wow.
Since the 2018 season was the next best mark. So 39-point difference on defense. So the defense is making up for it. And so in the end, between the offensive points and defensive points, the Chiefs are plus 59 through 6 games, which is the best scoring differential in the Mahomes era. So as much as we want to poke fun or maybe nitpick on what's going on with the Chiefs, their scoring differential is the best of the Mahomes era so far. But that's not to give out excuses for the offense either. I think we all see needs for the offense to improve, but just goes to show you how well that defense really is playing.
Right. And it's funny that we're sitting here upset at 5-1.
Yeah, as the number one seed in the AFC.
Yeah, number one seed in the AFC, and how many teams would love to be in our position? I mean,
Buffalo Bills would love it.
Oh, yeah. Cincinnati Bengals.
The Dolphins. I mean, all of them. Yeah. Yep.
I think the Dolphins are 5-1, aren't they?
Well, yeah, I think they are. We just have the tiebreaker or whatever it is at this point.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they the Dolphins almost lost again today. They were down 14-0 against the Panthers and came back to win that game, but that was not pretty by any standard at all.
No, not at all. And so, 5-1, but the defense, that's really the story. I mean, 4 batted balls, 2 interceptions. I mean, they're just flying around, making plays against the Broncos. And just whenever it seemed like the Broncos were getting momentum, the Chiefs defense stepped up and stopped that momentum and said, okay, that's enough. And either took the ball away or stopped them short. It seems like Russell Wilson couldn't find an open player, and he would hold on the ball, and he'd just get sacked. And so kudos to our secondary and then our defensive line getting after him, containing him, and making sure he doesn't get loose and wild.
Yep. Well, and here's another thing for you to think about, too, about that last game is with 2 minutes left in the game, the Chiefs had 1 touchdown in the whole game and 0 points in the second half. With 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I mean, you're not going to win hardly any games like that against any other team. Now, luckily, the Broncos, they weren't putting up any points either, but if you only get 1 touchdown and 0 points in the second half, obviously they scored another field goal there with about 2 minutes left, but that's not going to pull out many games other than maybe against the Broncos again. So
no, at one point the game turned into a 1-score game, 8-16.
Yep.
And so, a little worried there for a moment, but then realized the Broncos really haven't done much.
Yeah. So, let's jump into the offense then, right?
Oh,
so
man.
the big question with the offense is that red zone, right? They got into the red zone 5 times and didn't get 1 touchdown out of the red zone visits.
Yeah.
They got a turnover in there. Mahomes had a guy just hanging on his leg, literally just standing there, holding on his leg, and he just lofts the ball up for anybody to catch it. I mean, it wasn't a good pass on his part. Another time they go for it on 4th down. They don't go for it, but they do a fake field goal to try to go for it. So
right.
I mean, it's a long 2, right? And so I understand trying to catch somebody off guard, but we talked about this a little bit before, but I feel like they messed that one up a little bit.
Oh, yeah, very much so. So we talked about just the fact that as you're going to do that, you just got to go. As soon as the center feels the Noah Gray on him, just hike it and go, and then let the guys come and push you. But that took too long to set up. And then by that time, everybody kind of knew what was going to happen. And then it just turned into nothing.
Yeah. So it's basically 2 turnovers in the red zone if you include that turnover on downs, which we've saw before. We both kind of consider if you don't get on 4th down, it's the same as a turnover. And
Yeah.
So it's basically 2 turnovers in the red zone. The other times they had to settle for field goals. And so it's just not a good look for the offense. So they, 0 times did they get into the end zone when they got into the red zone. And so the previous games of the season, though, the Chiefs were 63% touchdown ratio when it came to red zone visits. So when they got into the red zone from the 20-yard or closer, they were in the end zone 63% of the time. And it went up with 0% in this last game.
Yeah, which is pretty rough. And usually that's where Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes shine, is in the red zone. They have those plays, they have people getting people open, and they score. But for whatever reason, it did not work this game.
Yeah, and so the other thing that I'll mention too is with Travis Kelce. Right, he had a huge first half, like 122 yards in the first half, 8 targets, and then in the second half, I don't know exactly how many targets, but at one point he had 2 targets, and very little production after that. I think he ended up like 130, 140 yards. He ended up getting maybe 20 yards in the second half.
Right.
So if he's on fire now, do you think Denver just shut him down? Maybe you can see it better on the TV than I could in person, but did the defense just shut him down, or did they just try to move away from him and try to get other guys going?
I think from what I was on the TV was they were trying super hard to get Tony going.
Yes.
For whatever reason, they were trying to get Tony going and trying to get him the ball as much as possible. I mean, they even have him throw a pass in the game, which was ill-advised. The guy was double covered. Why are you throwing that? Just tuck it and run. I mean, they just tried so hard, it seemed like, to get him going, and he just was not going. And so,
from the very beginning of the game, they were trying to. It's like they want him so badly to be their number one receiver, and he just can't live up to it right now. And I'm not saying he's not a great player, not a great playmaker with the ball in his hands, but man, he's not the number one receiver that I think they thought they were going to get. I think they thought he's going to be, at least like Juju, but maybe a little more explosive, right? Where he was going to be able to get open and get the ball and get moving, and it has not turned out that way at all.
It has not.
And so his game stats for the game, he had 2 rushes for -5 yards.
You were ready for this. We didn't even plan this. You were ready.
We didn't, but I was ready. So he had 3 catches on 6 targets as far as receiving for a total of 5 yards. And he did get a touchdown in there, but I mean, that was I'm not going to say it's not a stat, because it is. He got himself a touchdown, but
he did.
So total yards, his combined yards is 0 yards and 1 touchdown for the game.
That's incredible. What a stat line.
0 yards, 1 touchdown.
That's amazing.
It just shows you how much they were trying to force him to get going.
Right.
I mean, it is very evident they were trying to get him going.
Yeah.
He just could not get it going.
Yeah.
So it reminded me of Sky Moore a little bit, right? Because Sky Moore, they've tried to get him going a few times too.
Yeah.
And Sky Moore, for whatever reason, has not figured out how to maneuver himself through the NFL defenses. He'll have a few good catches and good runs here and there, but for the most part, he'll catch the ball, look at the defense in front of him, and not see the open hole, and just run towards the guy instead of towards the open hole. And that's what we're talking about with all these wide receivers. What do we do, right? How do the Chiefs change these things up? Let's start with this question. First off, how confident are you that the Chiefs can turn around their offensive worries, specifically with their wide receivers?
I feel I'm at 80%. And the only reason why I say that is because of Rashid Rice.
Yeah.
I really feel like he's coming to his own, and I feel like him and Mahomes has got some chemistry working. And so I feel like every game they're figuring more and more out. And then a couple games ago, I think I saw him and Mahomes talk on the sideline, and that's a good sign, like, hey, I want you to do this, why don't you do this? And then, so I think Rashid Rice can come into that role, even though he's a rookie. I think he can come out, and I just feel like Andy Reid's too smart of a coach to not get these players open. And so MVS, I think he will be that one-hit wonder, in a playoff game. He'll make a big catch, and he'll make big catches. Watson is Watson. I think there's enough data on him that he'll make big catches, but I don't think he's the number one. MVS is not a number 1 or number 2, maybe number 3. And then Sky Moore sometimes is missing during the game. And so you just don't even know where he's at, even though he's on the field. And so
MVS is a lot of the same way, some of that too. Sometimes MVS is missing.
And so I think they should run that more. And they did run. I feel like Andy Reid's listening to the podcast. Yeah. Because I feel like they're running more of the Noah Gray and Travis Kelce on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think they just need to keep doing more of that and let Noah Gray eat, just let him go. Let Travis Kelce take some of the attention off and then let Noah Gray just do some work. Young guy, anxious to get after that. So let him work and then let Rashid Rice work.
Yeah.
And Justin Ross had a couple of big catches. I mean, he also has, after his big catches, then where did he go? Did he go to the locker room? No one knows.
Well, according to ESPN stats, Justin Ross didn't have any catches or targets in this game. So the previous game, he did have several catches, but
I guess he didn't.
Yeah, but going back to Rashid Rice real quick, he had 4 targets, 4 catches for 72 yards for an average of 18 yards a catch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge, right?
Get him the ball more.
He caught 100% of the balls thrown his way and averaged 18 yards. That is pretty good. Pretty good. So, get the ball more in his hands. I know – well, and here's the other side. We know that Justin Watson now is injured. He's going to be out for a little bit. We're not exactly sure the extent of the injury or how long exactly he's going to be out, but we know he'll be out for a period of time. And so some of these other guys are going to have to step up because Justin Watson in every game so far, other than maybe this last one against the Broncos, has made at least one, if not multiple, huge catches, a lot on third downs. Right. And so he's been making some big plays for us. And he almost had one against the Broncos, but just landed weird on it and just wasn't able to secure it. But some other guys have got to step up and start taking those roles, though.
Oh, yeah. So let me ask you this. So there's a lot of noise on X and Instagram that the Chiefs should get a wide receiver. What do you think? Before the trade deadline.
Right. The biggest problem with the Chiefs right now is their cap space. Right. Yeah. Like they have some of the smallest amount of cap space left. I think it's less than $1 million even. And so no matter who they get, I just don't know if they can afford them. Unless I just don't know how they're going to figure that part out. I'm all for getting anybody that's going to help your team. Anyone who's going to make us better, I am 100% in favor of that. 100% of the time too. So anyone that's going to make you better, you can't turn that down. And so I'm all for getting a wide receiver that's going to make us better. I'm just not so sure that we can pull something off right now just based on our cap space. I think they kind of went all in thinking we got enough talent in the wide receiver room. Even Mahomes said in the preseason, it's like, man, this is the most talented wide receiver room we've ever had. Right. And yet, if they are, they're not producing like they are the most talented group they've had. And, these guys we talk about I'll briefly mention again, though, they're just not reading defenses, right? They're not reading how to run routes and how to adjust your route based on the defense. They're not reading how to move to the open spot to help your quarterback out. They're not to the point yet where they've learned how to block for their running back. They're not to the point yet where they just know how to make separation for their quarterback to throw them the ball. And so there's just a lot of wants and a lot of wishes and hopes for these guys so that they will develop, but they just haven't developed to the point that I thought, or that anybody in the Chiefs organization thought that they would at this point. But I'll say this, I do think that they'll figure it out at least a little bit more as the season goes on. But it's going to be a struggle for a while. But as long as you continue to win games, that's good. But our schedule is going to get a little bit more difficult as the season progresses. We're coming up on the Chargers, and then we got the Broncos again, and then I believe it's the Dolphins after that in Germany. So the Chargers,
which I almost discredit that game, win or loss.
Which one? The Dolphins game?
Yeah.
Why do you discredit that?
Well, just because it's in Germany.
Yeah, well, it's still going to count against your record either way.
I know, but I mean, like the fact that, I'm not gonna. If they lose, I'm not gonna the sky's falling, right? Because like it's sometimes hard. I mean, that's even further than Europe. or London, the London games, right?
I'll say
so
Germany is in Europe, but
yeah. The London games.
Yeah,
So I mean, like it's even further, and so I mean, like I think it's players are different, creatures of habit, and we hear that all the time how they just like their routine, and so to get them out of that, who knows how they're going to play? But we know Pat and Travis are going to play at the top of their game, show those fans in Germany just how good NFL football is.
That's right, man.
So
hey, we welcome all the fans that want to be part of Chiefs Kingdom.
That's right. I think we got a couple listeners in Germany. That's
right. We should learn some German phrases so that we can.
He's speaking the Deutsch. He's speaking the Deutsch.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, if you're listening from Germany, give us a shout out here. We want to connect and get to know you. We would love to do so. So, man, send us a message or comment or whatever. We'll try to
have you on the podcast.
Yeah. There you go. Hey,
or any questions you have about American football, we'll tell you. We'll give you the answers.
Yeah. Hey, even if we got some Swifties listening, right? Whether you like Taylor Swift or not, you got questions about football, we'll explain what we can, right?
There you go.
Hey, we welcome everybody to the Chiefs Kingdom and the Kingdom Corner.
That's right. So. All right. Well, you want to hear a crazy stat I heard about the Kansas City Chiefs?
Let's hear it.
In the AFC West, Patrick Mahomes is 28-3.
Yeah.
What's the average win point total by 15 points?
Wow. That's pretty big.
That's pretty big. And so pretty impressive. I don't think there's a quarterback and they won 11 points this game. And so I think that just continues. And this shows like, we may think, I was freaking out Thursday night when I was like, man, this team is terrible. And here we are, 5-1. We just need to pump the brakes. After a couple of days, it's good. It's probably a good thing we didn't record the podcast the day after or 2 days after.
We might have been a little more bitter.
We might have been a little more. So it's nice to see. I mean, even the 49ers Sunday, the 49ers lost today. The Eagles lost today. And so we're fine.
That's right.
We just got to keep winning.
That's right.
And so, yeah.
Well, and the Chargers are the team that always plays the closest of all of the division rivals. And so that's going to be a tough one. We won't dive too much into that. We'll get into that in our next episode. But, yeah, those are some great points and great stats there. So, last thing I want to mention, too, is our defense, right? Our defense has been playing well for the most part. But
really well.
I'm still going to hold out the question that I've held out for the last couple weeks now is I still think the Chiefs need to work on their defensive line. I think they need to work on getting pressure without blitzing. Now they did get a little more pressure without blitzing against the Broncos, but part of that's because Russell Wilson was holding onto the ball for so long.
And you called that stat. You said he holds on the ball the longest in the league, and he showed himself big time.
Yep. Yeah, and so that helps out a defensive line when you have a quarterback holding the ball that long. But we've got to learn how to get some pressure without blitzing, and maybe getting Charles Omenihu back this week. The commissioner officially released him or allowed him or whatever the term is, allowed him to get back in team facility and start practicing. I know they're not going to be there this week, but next week when they all get back together, he'll be there. So hopefully he's still in great shape and been working out, staying ready. And so he might need a game or two to kind of get in the flow again, though, because it's a lot different even from preseason to the regular season. But now having to sit out for 6 weeks and jump back in, that's going to be another adjustment for him again. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly he can adapt. But with that being said, Frank Clark was then released by the Denver Broncos this week. So because, if I understand correctly, because he was just released, he's not been waived, which means he can sign with any team he wants to, which means that his contract does not come over with him. So if the Chiefs are able to, would you want the Chiefs to re-sign Frank Clark?
No.
Okay. No, why? So please share your thoughts on this.
Yeah. I think no, just because I think I know our cap space is tight, like you just mentioned. And so if we're going to do anything, let's do something on the offensive side. That's what's going to win us games. I know defense wins championships, blah, 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 but not in the NFL, right? It's going to be the offenses that is going to do something. So I'd rather see, if the Chiefs were going to do anything, make any moves, I'd rather see them make it on the offensive side than the defensive side. So let's get one of these rookies that like Osborne. Let's trade for him, and then he's worth, he's owed nothing, and let's just pay him what's left on his contract, and then see if he can make some difference.
So if the Chiefs are able to sign Frank Clark for the league minimum, would you take him then?
No,
still no.
Still no. I don't think
right.
Frank Clark isn't going to help you in the regular season, which I think they're fine in the regular season. I think and I think who knows what the kid that's going to come and play. What you say his name was?
Talking about Aminihu?
Aminihu. Yeah.
Yep, Charles
like,
Aminihu.
let's see what let's see what he does. I mean, he's a Frank Clark, basically, right? He's a rusher. He's a rusher of the passer. And so let's just see what he can do. And I think we already got a guy on our team. That's Frank Clark. That's coming back.
All right. Well, fair enough, I guess.
What do you think? You think we should?
I think if you can get him for the right price, absolutely. Absolutely, I think you should. And let me tell you the other reason why is because the Chiefs' rush defense is not as great as people have made it out to be. Maybe including us ourselves, right? So going into this game, the Chiefs' defense was number 11th in rushing, right? However, they were in the bottom 10 for sure, maybe bottom 5 of yards per rush. So going into the game, they were giving up 4.3 yards per rush. Going into the Denver game. In the Denver game alone, they gave up 5 yards per rush.
Wow.
It's that's another reason why the game was so close, because Denver was able to run that ball so effectively that they didn't have to pass the ball.
Right.
Russell Wilson had less than 100 yards passing, and it was still almost a one-possession game.
Yeah, his QBR was like 10.1.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
Not good at all.
No.
Yeah, and so the fact that you can allow a team to rush for that many yards per attempt on you and per carry, man, that's not going to end well for you. And so while our defense is playing well, our secondary is the best part of our defense right now.
Oh, yeah.
Just shutting down wide receivers, shutting down quarterbacks. But our rush defense is our big question mark, I think, still.
Right.
And
right.
So just that defensive line, you need some guys in there who can stop the run and guys who can get some pressure off their quarterback. And I'll say they did start out the season a lot better than they are playing now. And so I still hold out hope that they can still get back to that form that they started the season with. But as of right now, they just need a little bit more help. And so I'd take all the help we can get.
There you go. All right. Well, you make a good point, but I'm still no.
All right. Well,
I just don't think. I don't think he was like. I didn't think he was like a run stopper. Right. I thought he was more get after the quarterback, which I understand we need to get after the quarterback and we need help there. But this Aminihu kid, I think, coming from the 49ers, they just couldn't pay him because they're going to pay Bosa, and so I think he's a good product of that. He's from a winning organization, which will be help. He understands like, hey, you got a job to do. Let's do it. So that's where I'm at.
Hey, all good points. So, well, either way, we're glad for a Chiefs victory, even if it was an ugly win. Like you said, probably a good thing we didn't record maybe the day after. Might not have been as positive as it is right now. So
no, not at all.
Definitely would not have been, actually. So maybe it's a good thing we didn't record as quickly. So, but either way, a win's a win. They're hard to get in the NFL. And like we've said before, and even before this Denver game, if you're not prepared for any team, that team will beat you in the NFL.
Yes. Oh,
even as of today, there's no more undefeated teams left in the NFL. So teams that we thought might go undefeated the whole season got beat by teams no one saw coming. And so if you're not ready, you will be beat.
Yes, you will. For the 72 Dolphins are popping champagne.
That's right. They're celebrating today as still the only undefeated team for a whole season. So
that's right.
Hats off to them. So, well, this episode is brought to you by Oh Hey Threads. We're thankful for them and their support. Every purchase that you make on their website of ohheythreads.com goes to support missions all over the world, one super soft tea at a time. We'll see you next time right here in the Kingdom Corner.